Let's start with polygon by center. 8 sides will lock to the XY plane, and at the center 500, enter, accept, and then we'll come up to extrude, identify this region, right mouse click to accept, and I'll come up to my options here, extrude options, draft, and I'd like to push this up at an angle of 24, 320 high. And go ahead and save as box pick. Come up to the application button, new, assembly of active model. Come up to tools, frame environment, frame commands. I'll take the default, and I'd like to start with square tubing 50 by 50. And I'll change this to face, identify the top face, identify the bottom face, and green check mark. Finish, take the defaults, OK. Come over to my pull down, and this time I'd like round tubing 25 by 2. Change this to single. I'll look at this from the top view. And again, make sure this is still on round tubing and identify these lines. And green check mark. And I'll hit finish and escape. I'll come up and turn off box pick part. And let's zoom in here. And I'd like this leg to be centered better. So I'll identify one of the bottom frame components. If I come to the edit button, change the handle points, and I see the handle points, and I'd like to drop this down. But I notice it only changed one, and I want to change all 8 of them. So I don't want that. I'll hit escape, and I'll come up here to undo. And let's try that again. I'll identify the frame component, and this time I want to click on either one of these red dots, just one, click on the dot, come up here again to edit cross section, and I'm going to fit my view because I have a problem here. I don't want it to change all of these top ones also, just the bottom ones. So what I'll do is hold down the control key and box pick, and that turns all those off. And now I can green check mark to accept the bottom, come to my handle points, zoom in, and I'll accept this top handle point to drop this all down. And now it changes all of those and updates accordingly. And I'll hit finish. But I notice there's a gap in here right now at the end of the pipe. So I'll identify the tubing, come to this option, edit end conditions, and I'll fit my view. And then I'll identify all these end conditions on the bottom. They're the ones I'd like to trim to the base. And green check mark. Come up to frame, extend, trim. I'll hesitate and wait, right mouse click, scroll till I get the plane that I want. And now they've extended and trimmed those to this base face. And now I'd like to center these bars on the other end. So I'll identify one of the frame components, and again, this time I want to click on either end, come over to my options. Now I don't want any modifications on the bottom, so I'll hold down the control key, box pick, and turn those all off. So I'm only focusing on the top. Green check mark, come up to the edit handle points, and I'd like to lift all these up. This time I'm going to do something a little different, and this will save me trimming. If I come over here to the key points, and I'll pick the midpoint, and instead of these handle points, I can use the sketch. So I could come along to this midpoint and say lift it up not quite as high as the red dot below it. Now if I zoom in and look at that, see how I don't need to trim this now? Finish and escape, and look at this from the bottom view. Now they're centered where I want them.